Welcome everyone to our November Civil Service Commission meeting. I'd like to start it off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Everyone received a copy of the attendance.
I did the attendance.
Okay, perfect. Everyone received a copy of the October 2024 minutes, and you've had the opportunity to review them. Can I have a motion to approve and accept the 2024 or the October 2024 minutes?
I approve that we approve the minutes.
You make a motion.
I make a motion.
Do I have a second? I have a second.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous, so that motion is passed. Next up on our agenda is Police Department update with Lieutenant O'Brien. I feel like this is like a podcast segment or something.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Good story.
Sponsored by.
There you go.
Sponsored by Fox Rothschild.
Here we go.
Those speed limit signs.
All right, good evening, everybody. Start off with retired Officer Dave Wolfgang, 89 years old, passed away since the last civil service meeting. Did 30 years with Plymouth Township. There's only 3 of us left in the police department that worked with Dave. And it would be nothing short than saying that Dave Wolfgang was a legend in many ways. You know, he did his career roughly from, I guess, the late 60s to the late 90s, so he was that last generation. But I know he did 30 years. I was fortunate enough to work with him, I think the last year before he retired. I know you worked with him. But he was a good guy. He was the old school way. And I just want to say a couple of minutes that he will be missed, and we're thinking of him and his family. On Monday, the first candidate that was on the list, Officer Alua, was sworn in by Plymouth Council. As I was coming out of this meeting, I saw him walking in. He's been at the range all week, which is to be expected. Just remember, he was former Metro DC, did a couple years with PSP, and now he joined us, and I have every reason to believe that he's going to be an outstanding police officer, and I'm not just saying those words.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is he required to take the MOPEC certification test?
Well, it's funny you mention that, because yes, he is, and we were not aware of that. If anybody who doesn't know, MOPEC is the governing body that handles municipal police officers. And he was a state police officer, which is not a municipal police officer. And there's things that municipal police officers have to be certified initially and then certified annually. There's things we have to do every year to keep our certification. My understanding, he was with PSP for about, I'm going to say 4 or 5 years off the top of my head. But you get a waiver after 15. Mm-hmm. So luckily, Officer Megan, I call her Ski because I can't say her last name, just took that certification test and helped him prepare, and he got an 85% on that. On the 7th, he took the certification test. So he's completely done and certified, but he does not automatically get that. And we went through this once before, but it's been about 10 years ago, and it kind of slipped my mind, to be completely honest, until MOPEC, we couldn't get his number because of that. So yeah, that was a little bit like a ooh. So we added that to the notes of when we hire, so that we know that moving forward. But yeah, troopers do not automatically get the transfer over, and he had to take the certification test.
So I'll call it the municipal certification test.
Yeah. When new candidates graduate from the police academy, they have to go up to Harrisburg and take a certification test to make sure that the academies are training them properly. So you have to graduate the academy, then pass the state certification test. So he did not have to do the academy, obviously, but he still had to do the certification test. Okay. And that also applies, it's a little bit different, but if you're out of state, if you're law enforcement out of state and you come here, they may accept certain credits and not accept certain credits. We have never really been there in the modern day era. but it's something that we keep our eye on every year. But it gets complicated transferring somebody who's law enforcement from another state too. But he's good to go. He got an 85% on the certification test off the top of my head. And there's a lot of reasons for being here tonight, but the next thing I'm going to ask that the Civil Service Commission do is Officer Mark Lacey has officially announced that he's going to retire. He's right around that 30-year mark also. He's leaving in early January. So the next candidate, Michaela Freeney, needs a police academy that starts January 2nd. The council has agreed to replace Officer Lacey, who's retiring at the end of March, and to get this new candidate moving through the system. If the first step, obviously, is I'm coming before this board with I have a rule of 3. She's the top candidate for the rule of 3. We're not looking to skip anybody. I'll remind you that the board's impression of her, she scored as high as anybody on the oral board. And she's young. She's 22 years old. She's bright. I think she's motivated. And she's like on the top 5 of like 3 police departments right now. So if we don't, she was absolutely a candidate that if we didn't get moving on, and to be honest with you, I think Mark Lacey knew that he was leaving, and I would like, I don't know this for a fact, but I believe that in order to reach out and hire her, if this commission would agree to sign off on the next Rule 3, I think he's doing the department a favor on the way out. I announced his retirement so we can get her and move on with the next generation of officers. So before I have some other things I'd like to go through, but if I could just redirect this to either the council president or the solicitor to make a motion on this Rule 3, which I know I'm not doing, but I'd like to get this part of what we need to get done. That's okay.
I'd like the record reflect that I'm not the council president.
Chairman of Commission, what's your title?
She's the chair of the
Civil Service Commission.
Well, I'm on record.
Okay, so,
We have
okay.
prepared the entry-level police certification, certified list. We took off the candidate who we just
Mr.
hired, Alua.
Alua.
And Michaela Freeney is next up. We have a proposed top 3 list, which is Michaela Freeney, and then the second and the third. The police department is requesting our consent, your consent, to have candidate Freeney be our next police officer.
Okay. So, I'll take a motion to accept the amended, would that be the correct term?
Revised, updated.
Updated entry-level police officer candidate list dated November 14th, 2024, with ranking number 1, Michaela Freeney, as the top candidate. Can I get a motion to accept this revised entry-level police officer candidate list?
I'll make a motion, we accept this list.
Can I get a second?
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that carried unanimously. And backing that, I will take a motion to accept the current top 3 candidate list, or the Rule of 3, as we've been calling it, dated November 14th certified list, which has Michaela Freeney ranked number 1, Nicholas Crawford number 2, and Anthony Agudo number 3. Can I have a motion to certify this list?
I make a motion that we accept that list as well.
And I second that motion.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, and that was unanimous. So if you borrow your pen for a second, I'm going to sign
The
this.
certified list is on the back. Sorry, the other packet.
And we will pass this around
Yeah.
to be signed by,
Can I borrow your, okay.
Lieutenant O'Brien, if you could pens to the next meeting. No,
I have two.
I have a pencil. I don't write in pen. I do not, unless I have to sign something.
Would you like to
in
change your,
front of me.
yeah,
It's gotta have a good eraser.
That's close.
Yeah,
So what's her background?
Young college grad, very bright, not experienced yet. But whatever she has in terms of people thinking she's a quality candidate, apparently she has it because it's rare to come across somebody who's in the top five-ish on three lists, all up here or a neighboring county.
Yeah,
Yeah. You know.
that's what I was asking.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to put your finger on, but all three board members kind of go like, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's, but I believe in her. You know,
Cool.
I believe in her. I believe in Alua also.
Yeah.
And I believe in the next couple coming down, but these are 1 and 2, so I don't think that, we do believe in them.
any sense that she's going to be available? I mean, you said there's 3.
Oh, yeah, we've already, so what happens now is obviously this is the first step in the process. I mean, council has to basically let us know that if we do this, they're good with it informally, and they've done that. You've done your part now. We already have her, she's already enrolled in the January 2nd Academy class, but now I had to wait for this, so now we have to do, it's obviously a conditional offer, she has to pass a physical, a psychological, and we're moving through with those appointments. They'll be done by the 19th, both of them.
Okay.
And these are all replacement positions, correct? This is not.
Right. This is, yeah, I'm going to get that. There's nothing about these two hires that's expansion. Since you brought that up, the one thing I wanted to make sure that I didn't skip over is that in terms of the expansion or next year's police budget, there's another round of meetings. The final round of meetings, as I understand it, will be held this Monday, and that's when we'll find out exactly what our police budget is, and included in that would be if we're able to expand the police department that we've been talking about for several months. But once again, I'm not just saying these words. The chief has asked me to thank this board for that wonderful letter of support that did get passed on to council. And hopefully we can expand the department, but I can tell you that I and the chief feel like this board has been behind this effort, and I'm passing on thank you. All right, so that's on my list.
Would our,
I can tell you, I spoke to the solicitor for the town. He got it. He
Good.
acknowledged. He said, "Yep, thank you, got it."
good.
They're going to do what they're going to do, but
Yeah.
they heard from us.
Do you think us being there would make a difference, or not being there would make a difference?
That's hard. I mean, first of all, it's a public meeting. I think your voice has been heard.
Okay.
But I mean, I would never. I mean, I answer to you, and I'm not being smart about that. I think your voice has been heard,
Okay.
and so I guess that statement speaks for itself.
yeah.
It's always a little bit of a dance. I don't mind saying that on record. It's a little bit of a dance. We wanted to support this board. We've talked about it. We definitely got to support that board, and the council's aware that this board's supporting it.
Okay.
The one thing I did want to, I skipped over this, but this board, I don't want to say names, obviously, but a person was notified that they were not continuing on with our hiring list because of the background investigations. The solicitor notified me during the course of a month that appeal window came and went, and no appeal was filed. I mean, that should be apparent because we're moving on with the hiring process, which we couldn't have done. But I thought that we should mention that here in this meeting. The written examination for the promotion to both sergeant and lieutenant is being held December 9th. That's sneaking up on us, believe it or not. December 9th is sneaking up on us. It's scary.
It's 6 p.m. at the community center.
It is. Again, and I've said this, all are welcome, you don't need my permission, but the test outside company can handle this, even if nobody, I'm going to be there also.
I'll be there.
Well, there's also a council meeting that night.
Okay.
So I'm going to be bouncing back and forth between the two. But all are welcome, always. And but if it doesn't work, I don't need a quorum or anything like that to continue on with that mission. So I guess that's what I'm saying. Just want to do some police updates. Officer Ski, that's the officer who just joined us, who just finished at the police academy. He's been on the street now, I'll say a month, 6 weeks, and we're off to a good start. She's young, she's motivated, she's bright, and twice, 3 times a week I speak to the officers on her squad, specifically her field training officer, and she's fitting in, and I'm not surprised by any of that. And the one thing I want to mention, I don't know, this got some news coverage, but about 2 Saturdays ago, we had a woman with mental health issues inside the Guitar Center at the Metroplex, holding a gun to both employees and customers' heads. And the officers responded. She confronted him out front, and depending on how you want to count it, 4 to 6 times she raised a weapon, sometimes in a traditional military-type fighting stance, and pointed at the officers. They held their fire, talked her down. She will be charged. They thought the priority was obviously to seek some mental health relief. But Officer Ski was one of the officers who was on that call. You're talking about an officer with no prior experience who's been here with us at that time for maybe on the street for like 3 weeks. So that's a big test for anybody.
Yeah.
And it worked out. About 24 hours after that, some officers saw some guys. We have some problems at Wawa. I mean, it's a convenience store. We have some problems there. They didn't like the way a guy was acting, and he started acting a little bit belligerent after giving him about an hour. But one of the officers hung in the air. You just watch him. I know we're not allowed to work on hunches, but just something didn't seem right, and he had a homicide warrant out from that was entered like 2 days before our guys stopped him. And that was a fairly new officer, but he was one of the guys who came from Philly up during a couple batches ago. So he's probably right around 3 years right now, but a lot of experience. But that was like 24 hours after, the Guitar Center. And then this week, we had a dispute at the mall, domestic. We're not getting a lot of cooperation. But at the mall at about 8 o'clock at night, someone shot a round at another person. So again, we're not getting a lot of cooperation on that, but charges were filed not for the gunshot, but there was enough to charge for other crimes. It took a day to put it all together, but I mean, we're just talking about things that have all happened. They had to leave some of that because they had a burglary going on at the insurance auto auction where they got in a foot pursuit, and they got one out of the 2 guys in a foot pursuit. Actually, it was the same guy who was involved in the Wawa job. Just happened, So I'm going to try to do a better job, I think, of trying to keep note of these calls. I don't think I've done a good job over the last couple of years, but some of this is a little bit unusual, like the Guitar Center. But I'll be honest with you, that this isn't really that much different than, a little bit. The Guitar Center was absolutely out of character for what happens here on a daily. Not that it can't happen, obviously, but this other stuff. Unfortunately, there's a suicide mixed in here. But I'm going to try to do a better job of just taking 5 minutes to go down some of the things that are happening because this is the stuff, and it's still a good community. I say all the time, I mean it. It's true. You all live here. You drive around. It's a good community. But this stuff does happen, and when these calls come out, none of us are shocked. It's just like, oh, okay, that's going on now. Let's get on handle. But I just want to bring. I'm going to try to.
This is really helpful. I appreciate you doing this because all we know is you pull people over for speeding, or people running stop signs. But no, this is
Metroplex is really bad, but we don't know why.
Yeah.
I'd like to say what Lieutenant O'Brien didn't say. He said she pointed a gun. That was a loaded weapon. And they did release a snippet of the body cam footage.
It's on our Facebook page.
And I'd like to say that they did a tremendous job in managing that situation, which could have very easily ended a different way.
the next business over, there was an active professional athlete doing some memorabilia signing. So there was like 200 people that had showed up for that. That was in the next building over.
Oh, my God.
And it's a Metroplex. This is a, it was about approximately, I think it was like 39 hours, middle of the day. A lot of people. This person also had family right there. So that adds another, element of trying to control the family who doesn't want you to hurt their family member, which we get, but it adds more chaos,
Stress, yeah.
to the situation. But yeah, they.
Do you have any kind of like special mental health response team or something in terms of that? Is that
Well, yeah. I mean, there are. This is so fluid and rapid that there's not time on this one. But we have the crisis center that we can take people for and involuntary commit them. But that's after things have calmed down. Over the last couple of years, there's something called Mobile Crisis, which is kind of like an outreach of the facility to try to assist us and maybe calm the situation down so people don't end up at the facility. That's the short answer. And I'll be completely honest. We don't ask for a lot of support from county agencies. We're kind of a self-sufficient unit, not that we won't take help, but Mobile Crisis is great. They're timely, they react quickly. I'm sure that they're getting calls from people more than just us because it's a county. But they are great, they are responsive, and I think we've talked also that part of this budget plan, we're looking into having hiring on a contract these kind of people to be assigned to this police department. And that's all part of this budget process that's being gone through right now. They do a little bit of homeless outreach, service outreach, veteran outreach, and with Mobile Crisis getting involved, I believe that we are able to diffuse some things that are more stable than the Guitar Center thing, without having to take people to be committed. But we can't really take credit for that. Other our officers know that resources available and go from that.
on the other side of that? This is just learning a little more about the police department protocol. But once this happens, like the next day, if someone gets a gun pulled on an officer, is there like a debriefing the next day on the issue? Is there a certain internal?
Right.
How does that work in terms?
So you're absolutely right. So the next day I came down here, just to pop my face and say hi and just kidding around. But we make sure the supervisor reports back to us. I can honestly tell you, and I'm not just saying these because we've had instances where people, have felt that we felt that they need a little bit more than just like the department monitoring. But in this one, I'm very confident everybody's okay because they didn't discharge and because they were okay. But we do ask people. Things have come a long way about people not being as shy or intimidated. I don't know if that's the right word, or concerned about their careers by coming forward. It's come a long way. So we do official debriefs, but not just with that squad, but we make it mandatory training for all the patrol squads to watch this video, and we keep the brass out of it. Like no lieutenants in there. This is a sergeant with his troops. And we make them sign off on the documentation that they watched this video and they went over it. But that part of it is more about like a tactical law enforcement response. But we do pop in, ask, and we're not afraid to. And I'd like to think that people in the year 2024 will let us know. And a lot of that falls on the sergeant who works with his people every day. Yeah, there was a time when we didn't. Everybody was just told to suck it up. But I like to think that those days were getting better.
That wasn't me saying suck it up. It's like the record reflect that.
And there was a time it was a lot more like that.
Good peer support group, too.
And there's definitely programs out there to assist us if somebody's looking for assistance. And we have trained officers we have trained certified officers in peer assistance and stuff too. I like these questions. Believe me, I'll answer any question. The last thing I have is Officer Watts graduates the first leg of his K-9 course tomorrow. I'm going to run down there with his sergeant. Then he'll come work the street for about 2 months, and then he'll do the drug portion. So this is the patrol dog working part. K-9 training never ends.
How's he doing?
Oh, he's good.
Good.
He's good. Dogs are a commitment. I mean, a good commitment, but this is only, I mean, I feel like he's been in training for 4 months, and this is just the patrol portion. Then he's got to do the drug portion, which I think is a little bit shorter, but it's probably still like 6 weeks. And then it's 2 dedicated days of training a month, which is a lot, you know.
One for patrol and then one for
Okay.
to keep their
And then it's running around helping out other agencies. And with the political cycle, I'm not telling anybody here, this county was important to both sides during this last election. And this county was flooded with political events the last month. That required a lot of requests for our bomb dog. And we never say no. I mean, somebody's asking for, there's only so many of them in this county, and we have one of them.
And would I be correct that you have to coordinate with all the local municipalities when these events happen?
Right. So,
Whichever is the hosting
right. They put out.
department puts out the feelers.
So it's all in place now. There's mutual aid agreements, and that's because some of these events, there was a time period about 5 days in a row, I sent 8 of our officers to another jurisdiction to help. Because, again, I'm not getting political, but Musk came and Trump came and the president's wife came and the governor was here, actually, not that long ago. I saw you at that event. But if I say there was 15 of them over the last 6 weeks, I don't think I'm exaggerating. And the whole purpose of mutual aid is that, let's just say they go to an apartment like Whitpain that let's say has 40 guys. They ask for help from 10 agencies and they send 10 people. They have a lot of bodies, but we're responsible for paying for our officers, so that Whitpain doesn't get some $300,000 bill for a political event that comes there. You send the officers, and you also pay for your.
Some things at the 1912 Club, you can call Whitpain.
Right. On that one, we handled because there was no real, we just did that with 20 of our own officers. But that's a good dry run for us, too, to run a command post and gather intelligence and put up a security. There's no better training exercise than to do it once in a while. But it's been a big commitment with sending officers all around. Big commitment, but that's the way it is. I actually made a note for the person who takes over my position after me to actually budget an additional $15,000 a year during an election cycle. Because this county is just one of those counties in one of those states, and I don't see that changing in the next 4 years. So I have a spreadsheet of things I want to make sure I go over with whoever takes my chair over, and that's one of the things I just added to it. Election years add $15,000 for these kind of things, That's it.
Not more.
But that's what I have. I appreciate this commission. But if anybody has any questions for me, if not, I'll shut up.
Officer Lacey retiring. I know he does a lot of the community policing. Do you have someone lined up for that? Because that's a big, very public, visible position he has. I mean,
No doubt. And again, these aren't just words. I can't begin to tell you how important that position is to the chief. And he's held a lot of different hats, but he's always, I'm talking about Lacey, he was a juvenile detective, he was a detective highway, but he's always had his hand in that, and he's been doing it for a long time. He has a lot of connections. We actually already, we put it out. We had 3 people who were interested in replacing. We've already interviewed those 3 people, and I would say that probably as soon as tomorrow, the arguments before the chief are going to happen. Everybody's saying who they think and why. And maybe as soon as next week, we're going to get that person in that position for a crossover type thing.
I just don't want to lose that role because that's
that position.
seen it across.
That position's going nowhere.
Okay.
In terms of that position's not disappearing. It's just Mark's leaving at the end of March, but when you make the new year, he gets all of his time. So. We only have, that's why we're moving so quick, because we only have so much time to do this cross-training. But I know the 3 officers who put in, and that position's going to be fine. A little bit maybe growing pain.
Community relation was the best
Yeah,
part?
community policing unit. We call it CPU. But
He works with the schools. You see him on social media.
he's everywhere you can be.
Picture.
Runs the cop camp. Right?
Part of the fabric of the community. I mean,
No doubt.
he's one of the faces of your department.
More than any other officer in this
Because
department.
he's out there, yeah.
if I took 50 officers out there right now, by far, he would be the one. You're talking about the kids that he met in the schools now have kids in the schools, and that's no exaggeration, But yeah, he's the face of this department.
Followed by the dogs.
Yeah.
Everybody loves a picture of a puppy. And not only is he the face, but like you said, he handles all of our social media, and he has a certain. If you ever go on our Facebook page, he has a certain wit about him. Yeah, we have to be careful how we word things. I mean, we're a police department for crying out loud. But he does a really good job of being edgy and not crossing the line and funny, but getting the point across. He has a skill set that's unique, to be honest with you. But yeah, we're moving forward right now. And at the next meeting, there's no doubt I'll know. But that has nothing to do with expansion. That has nothing to do with anything. That position's being replaced, and we're actively working on it.
Our next meeting, which will be Thursday, December 12th, 3 days after the lieutenant sergeant
The
test.
council meeting and the test. And I don't know the outside company that we're using. I believe it's January 8th, 9th, and 10th. They dedicated for the oral interview.
And they'll be done here?
I don't know for a fact, LT, where they're going to be. I don't know if they're going back to the queue. I think they may want to get out of the police department, which means I'll go to the community center again. I think they may want to like just get outside those four walls and just kind of be like, we're over here.
I may overstep my bounds for my other job, but I'm sure if I spoke to Dr. King, if you wanted to take it even out of there and put it over there.
Sometimes like light bulbs go off. I realized we had the written test is all lined up. We have the room, we have everything. But I don't have the logistics of the oral. I do remember having a brief conversation about whether it be at the police station. I got the feeling they didn't want it there. But I come here and learn too, and I go, oh yeah, you know what? Maybe I ought to start locking that down. So I do have to get a time, place. The time and date I have, but I don't have the location. So you can't have 2 out of 3, right? You kind of need. So I'm taking notes also.
Well, it's also being done differently than the way that it's been done in the past. So,
And we haven't promoted for a while.
right.
It's been very few over the last
5 years.
Yeah. And before then, we hired we're promoted 2 over a couple years, but most of these sergeants have been around for a little while. Lieutenants have been around for, you know how they are. They never go anywhere. They stay on lieutenants.
2019, maybe?
Maybe. It's a long time now, though.
Okay. Anything else for Lieutenant O'Brien? Any old business that we need to review? I do not have anything.
I do not have anything either.
Any new business that we would like to discuss?
No, it's on the agenda, but where are we, and this Mr. Solicitor, where do we fit with our report? Is that something that, is that
I was going to mention that in my compliance section.
That's-
but we
Sorry,
can-
please go ahead. I'm sorry.
Next.
Sorry.
How convenient.
It's like you have a crystal
Yeah,
ball.
thank you very much. At our last meeting,
Yes.
I put together a outline highlighting some of the things we've done so far. I will continue to update that. The last thing that's going to be on there is going to be the sergeant and lieutenant test. Then I will forward the next draft over to the chair, who will circulate it to all of you. So we will have it ready at the end of the year as our code requires.
Is that required for the next township meeting on the
No.
12th? They don't go over the, okay.
We're supposed to give it before the end of the year.
Okay.
And it may not have been done previously for a while,
Yeah, I think that's fair.
but it will be done now.
Wonderful.
Real quick, the new township manager was also appointed at the last council meeting also. So that could affect this commission in their dealings. And the only other thing is, it's not quite yet, but is anybody's term up in 2020? Any of the board members' terms up in 2025?
Yes.
At the beginning of 2025?
No, at the end of 2025, I think Paulette and I, both our terms expire.
There's not term limits on this commission, is it?
I don't believe so. I have
I
not.
don't think there is
That
either.
doesn't jump out to me for the regulations.
Yeah, I've
that
read it a
I've
lot of
read.
times. I don't remember reading anything.
Yeah.
I will confirm that.
And then I also think that, I think January is is a different month for this commission. I think there's like reorganization. I think,
And it says February in your.
Yeah.
It is
Correct.
odd.
but it
And
does give you the ability, it actually calls for a special meeting just for reorganization, but I think there's an escape clause on that.
Correct. So-
Unless the board says they want
So
to.
I think what we'll, Madam Chair, it's going
Go
to be
ahead.
your discretion, but, we'll probably respectfully want to move to just consolidate that. Just be mindful of everybody's time.
Right. Organization, meetings, amendment.
Because that stuff's not that far away, the new year.
Organization, quorum alternate member. Commission first appointed shall organize within 10 days of its appointment, shall elect one of the member chairperson, president, one as secretary. The commission shall thereafter meet and organize on the first Monday of February of each even-numbered year. 3 members shall constitute a quorum. So it looks like my understanding is that there is a term limit, 6 years, but it doesn't say that you can't participate more than one term. So I interpret the reorganization on even years, correct?
I don't have it in front of me.
That's all right.
I will double check all that.
Yeah.
We'll be able to talk about that next month.
And are we locked down to having like 4 or 5 members, or can we expand the number?
It's going to depend on each of the ordinances if you're allowed to have alternate members.
Okay.
I will also look to see if our ordinance permits us to have alternate members. Some boards and commissions you do, some don't. Sometimes it was just an oversight when council passed it.
Yeah.
They didn't put in.
Not that long ago, this was a 3-person board.
Correct.
Okay.
I can just tell you that, and I don't care if this is on the record, this board was never like this as it's been the last 2 years. I'm talking about in terms of being a real board, to be completely honest. I mean, it was there, it served its function for hiring and stuff like that. But when there was only 3 members, we were always having a hard time getting a quorum. I mean, me and the solicitor sitting there sometimes, And I get people can't make, but I mean, it was, it was a consistent problem. And since this chief took over, one of the ways of making a quorum easier is, and they would skip, before they would just skip months, and not even for a reason, they would just skip. But when you have 5 consistently getting a quorum, especially with this group, it seems like it's gone a lot easier. So I know it went from 3 to 5 not that long ago.
Okay.
Correct.
So if it wouldn't be expanded again, I don't see why it couldn't if everybody wanted that. If we did it one time, I don't think there's any cap on it.
Well, the council
They would have to.
changed the civil
Oh, no doubt. It would
service
have to run through
rules to
procedure.
expand the board to 5. And I was appointed in 2019, obviously, because I couldn't serve while I was active police. And that's when the change was made by council. And we, like Lieutenant O'Brien stated, we finally hit a stride where we are meeting every single month, regardless of whether or not there needs to be any action taken. My belief is we never know when the public is going to show up and want to address the commission. So I feel like it's our duty and responsibility to make sure that we're available for that. Because even though something might not be on the agenda,
You never know.
written
Right.
under new business, something might pop up. So again, I think everybody's worked hard to make sure that we meet at least once a month, sometimes more, and sometimes with very short notice.
And so everybody's aware, I send the agenda to the police department and the township and they post it on the website well in advance. So
Okay.
it's out there if somebody is interested and wants to come. It's out there early.
Yes.
We need some sexy police issues to happen.
Oh, no.
Don't worry.
Lieutenant
No
O'Brien
news is good news,
no
right?
interest in that.
I'm well past one sexy policeman.
Flying under the radar is good, right?
Flying 12 months.
Anything else on? Okay.
Stop counting.
Oh, I'm counting.
I know you are, just
Okay.
stop.
That's actually
Time for public comment. We don't have any public to comment. And I'll say this again because I know that this is also published on the township website. If you are in the public and ever want to see how your police department runs, please come to a civil service meeting. Next up, closing comments. Again, I'd like to double back with what Lieutenant O'Brien started with. Officer Dave Wolfgang was someone that he was truly old school police, had a heart as big as Texas. He had a wicked sense of humor. He was also a longtime township resident, lived at the corner of Belvoir and New Hope Street for a very, very long time until he needed to move to assisted living and finally a nursing home. But Dave was always there and would always have your back whether you wanted it or not. And he was truly, truly a good man. So I swear to goodness, I felt like he worked here longer than 30 years. I think he was in his 60s when he finally retired. But he was definitely a good guy, and I don't say that about a lot of people. With that, I have no other comments, so I would love to have a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I move to adjourn.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye,
Aye.
and this meeting is adjourned.